Hello. Okay, today we have a lab review of a 51-year-old female who has recently come to work with me in my hormone group. She started the group or came to me for coaching for complaints of just stalled out weight loss. She knew that there was like some gut stuff going on. She just didn't know exactly what. She could tell that it wasn't right. She just wasn't feeling good, just was not feeling like she should. And all of her weight loss efforts are stalled out basically. So we are going to review her labs. I'm going to show you what I found, why she's feeling the way that she does, and then what we're going to do moving forward to help her feel better, help her start healing her hormones, and get some weight loss going. But before I do that, if you could please give me a thumbs up on this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. All of that helps me with the YouTube algorithm, which can help me spread the word and educate more women about their health and not take being dismissed at the doctor when you go in with symptoms of just not feeling good and you know something's off and they just tell you it's a part of aging. You do not have to settle for that. So please, please, please make sure that you share this with a friend, especially somebody maybe that is struggling or in the same boat that you are, and help them to become educated and be their own health advocate. So subscribe. Okay. All right. Let's get into these labs. I'm actually going to pull these labs up on the screen for you so that you can see exactly what I'm looking at. So we have page 1 here. On page 1, what I'm looking at the whole thing. This is a CMP, or your metabolic panel. What this goes over is glucose, A1C, insulin, and things related to liver and kidneys and a few other things in there. So the first thing we see is glucose is 91. We see the A1C is 5.6. 5.6 is right on the cusp of high. 5.7 would be considered high with an A1C, and glucose is 91. Neither one of those is going to make a doctor do anything basically for you other than maybe tell you to eat better and move more, right? That's their standard answer for everything. But the reason I always get insulin pulled and don't just look at glucose, which is typically when you get your lab panels at the doctor, what they're going to do is just look at glucose, maybe the A1C, is her insulin. Her insulin is 19.5. That is sky freaking high. She is jacked full of inflammation at this point, okay? Ideal number or levels for insulin is 3 to 6. So her numbers are up there. Technically, over 15 is considered diabetic, okay? I cannot diagnose anything. I'm not trying to diagnose anything. I am just trying to educate her and let her know that her body is not operating optimally and she needs to start making some changes, or the things that she's feeling now she thinks bad, it's just going to continue to get worse, okay? You can also see that the ALT is high. That is a liver enzyme. It's almost double where the range should be on that. That's definitely some inflammation. There is definitely probably some visceral fat, which just means the fat around the organs. It is probably definitely got some visceral fat, a high level of visceral fat around it. Your liver is your detox, guys. You need to keep, if you can remember 2 things, it's always support the liver and feed the gut. If you can do those 2 things, you can live a long, healthy life. So we really need to start supporting that liver, start helping it work. It's probably really sluggish right now, really slowed down. It's just overworked basically. So we need to give it some support. We need to pull back on some of the foods and the lifestyle factors that are causing it to be in that position and really start to improve her health. And that can make her feel wonders better. Okay. All right. Moving down. This is the sex hormone panel and the thyroid panel part of the lab work. She is in full menopause. She has hardly any progesterone or estrogen being secreted. Her LH and her FSH, which is the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone, are both very high, which are indicators of menopause, and she knew that already. Going down, her free testosterone is a little low, so she could look into doing some hormone replacement therapy to, she could add in some bioidentical progesterone that might help her feel better with a little bit of the anxiety, help her sleep better, help with maybe some of the menopause symptoms that she's having. The testosterone she could go in and add, that can help. Testosterone can help with holding on to lean muscle mass, helping you build lean muscle mass. It's also a big one for your mood. It's really big for, why am I drawing blank? It's your mood, and your ability to hold on mass and your libido. That's what I was trying to say, your libido. So that's definitely something she can consider. My recommendation, honestly, for her at this point, because there are so many things going on, was to spend 4 weeks under this protocol that I created for her, where we're trying to bring down the insulin, and we're going to talk about some of the other pieces, trying to drop some of this inflammation, and then assess her clinical symptoms from there and see how she's feeling. But her testosterone is low. So is the inflammation and bringing the insulin down going to fix that? No. Could it elevate it a little bit? Sure. But it's also her age and where she is. So that's why I always just say, let's do a little bit of the work first and let's see how you feel. Because maybe at this 0.6 level, her libido might come back up when we pull down some of this inflammation, and she might feel really good there. And then she may not. And then she can go into looking, talking with a hormone clinic or her gynecologist, wherever she's comfortable, and talking about doing some of that hormone replacement therapy to help her feel better, help her elevate her mood. At the bottom of this, we see her thyroid. Okay, her thyroid looks pretty good. I would say it's on the lower end of all the optimal levels, and especially with everything that she's got going on, I definitely want to throw some magnesium in here, some zinc, some selenium. I want to get her eating some leafy greens, some cruciferous vegetables. I want to get her hydrated. I want her to, so again, support the liver, and then I want to support the thyroid as well, because I don't want it to drop any further, I guess you could say. Because her T4 is actually a little low. So if the T4 goes low, then the T3 can drop, and then the TSH is going to elevate, which is hypothyroidism. And I just want to prevent that. So I want to start supporting that now. Some vitamin B, C, D, magnesium, zinc, as I said, and helping to give support with that, which can help her feel better as well. Okay. All right, moving to the next page. This is the CBC, which is just your blood count. Don't really see anything here. Cholesterol is high. I expected that, especially with her insulin being as high as it is. Typically, LDL and insulin kind of hang out together. So if insulin is really high, you're probably always going to see the LDL really high. Her total cholesterol is high as well. So we definitely need to, this is inflammation as well. So we really need to pull that inflammation down. Things like we're going to use krill oil. We might use some what's called D-limonene, which is orange peel extract. And then again, getting hydrated, working on sleep cycles, working on stress management, cleaning up the food, and getting her walking. That's really all I want her to do, is just walk. Get those steps in right now and try to reduce some of that inflammation and pull. I'm pretty sure she's holding a ton of bloat as well with this, and start to pull some of that off just to get her start feeling better. Then we can start adding on more things, more exercise, more specific meal plans, food, things like that. But all of this can be very overwhelming at once for a client. So I try to come in with small steps, things that are going to make big impacts, but small steps just to get them feeling better. And as they start feeling better, then I will start putting more and more onto the protocol as I feel like mentally they can handle it. Okay, her vitamin D is very low as well. We need to get that up. It's at 33.6. Ideally, vitamin D is between 80 and 100. So the big deal with vitamin D is one, immunity, okay? But two, it's a precursor, or it helps with the formation of the feel-good neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and it also helps with sex hormones, okay? So we know we got that low testosterone, the low progesterone, which again is part of menopause, but her vitamin D is low, so it's not helping anything. It's not helping her feel better. So I absolutely want to get that guy up. All right, this is probably the most interesting part to me on her labs, is her ferritin is very, very high, okay? So if we see ferritin very high like this, there means that there's some kind of bacterial or viral infection typically in the gut going on. And with what her symptoms are and what she's told me, I am gonna deduce that it is in the gut. When we have a virus or a bacteria in our body, it feeds off of iron. The body's self-protective mechanism to that, to prevent the virus or the bacteria from spreading or taking over, is to bind it to ferritin, okay? So the ferritin levels increase because it is binding to the iron. So it to be up that high, that 100% tells me that there is some kind of infection, something going on, and we need to address it. I think it's most likely related, honestly, to the high insulin levels and the types of foods that she's been eating, plus the stress. She does have a lot of external stress going on as well. That combination is just really hard on the gut. It can cause bacterial overgrowth. It can cause yeast overgrowth, which is called candida. It can cause H. pylori, which is another form of bacterial overgrowth. It can cause a lot of issues. in the gut. So getting that inflammation down, that biggest domino down, and removing some of the cardiac inflammation, I think can help with that. And then we will go off of, again, symptoms, and are they improving? Are they not improving? Whether or not we go into a full-blown gut protocol from there. But my biggest thing for her is insulin and getting the cholesterol, getting the vitamin D elevated, changing lifestyle factors, changing habits, getting leafy greens in, getting cruciferous vegetables, supporting her with some supplements to help her feel better during this process so that she will keep moving forward, and then we can keep making more and more changes. And how I know that she's super stressed is because her cortisol is basically tanked, okay? So what happens is, yes, you hear about that cortisol elevates as you get stressed, but if you stay under chronic stress for chronic periods of time, what happens is I'm sure you've heard the term adrenal fatigue, and that's not exactly correct. It's more adrenal insufficiency. So the adrenals secrete the cortisol hormone, okay? And they will continue to secrete the cortisol hormone as the chronic stress lays on you more and more. But it gets to a period where the amount of stress that you have on your body, the adrenal glands cannot keep up with it. They're not secreting less, but the amount of cortisol that they are secreting is not enough to counter the stress that you are putting on your body. So I hope that makes sense. So that's why it's more adrenal insufficiency. It's insufficient amount of cortisol being secreted in order to counter the amount of stress that you're being placed on it. Initially cortisol secretes, it does go high, and then it just tanks out, basically. That is what has happened here. Okay, so we have some gut health issues, we have some stress issues, we definitely have insulin issues, cholesterol, so all of those kind of things that we need to address. So with her, it is honestly a pretty hefty supplement protocol to start to support her, again, paired with a nutrition strategy and a movement strategy. And for her, it's walking. I want her walking. I want her making that time in her day, which she does not work, so she has no reason not to get out there, at least 60 minutes a day, getting at least 10,000 steps a day. I want her building more movement into her day to help with that insulin regulation, to keep those the blood glucose levels more balanced throughout the day. We're going to work on eating every 3 to 4 hours, not waiting long periods between our food, because that was the other thing. She was a big faster, okay? And if fasting works for you because it helps you with a calorie deficit, okay. I'm just not a huge advocate for it in the sense of most of the studies, I would say 8 out of the 10 studies done on fasting are done on young men. There's hardly anything on women when it comes to fasting and actual results and the health benefits that they're getting from it. There's more information about what it can do to hormones in a negative impact way. A lot of the people that I read their info from, or their books or whatever, that are like in this, like deep into hormones, say women should not fast more than 3 weeks at a time. So she did this for a year, this 16-8 fast for a year. So that's definitely caused some issues. I would say it's probably caused some binging issues, some food relationship issues, which is my other side kind of issue with fasting. Like if you have a great relationship with food, you use it for fuel, you want to fast to help you get in a calorie deficit, and you're doing it short term, okay, so be it. If you're fasting because you have a poor relationship with food and you think it's your answer, it is not. It is going to elicit binging. It is going to elicit an even worse relationship with food. So I can do another video on that. I just don't agree with that. And here it has caused issues as well, okay? So we're going to work on eating every 3 to 4 hours in more of a 12-hour window. So 12 hours of eating with a 12-hour fast, which is basically the time that you're sleeping, which we do want a bigger gap. Like about a 12-hour gap is plenty between meals and, sleep and stuff, to allow the body to heal, to allow that mitigating motor complex, I always mess that up, MMC, to come in and do its job and kind of like sweep the colon and push everything through and get that food digested and keep your system moving like it's supposed to. And then with the supplements and moving and et cetera, and I'm asking her to move after her meals, I'm asking her to get a fasted walk-in the morning. All of those are in respect to improving insulin levels. Because if we can improve those insulin levels, she is going to feel a ton better. If she feels a ton better, she's going to start making more decisions in regards to feeling better and improving her health. We can start adding in more exercise, getting a little bit of resistance training in there, because we know that is one of the best ways to improve insulin sensitivity, and also with weight loss by building lean muscle mass, getting her hydrated, making sure we're on a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and then working on stress management. So it's a lot, and you have to go at it slow and steady in order for it to stick and make small changes. And no plan is consistent client to client. I have to be flexible. I have to adapt. I have to meet them, but I also have to challenge them at the same time. So it's like this fine line of figuring out a client's personalities, what they respond to. But then, it's also the client's responsibility to communicate. You have to communicate back to your coach if something's working, if it's not working, if you feel like you're struggling, this, that, and the other, because I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. And if you're giving me your check-in and it's going through and you're not mentioning anything, I'm assuming you're doing great and you're feeling great and mentally you're on board, and I'm just going to keep making suggestions and etc. going on. So you have to be very open with your coach. You have to communicate. It's a very personal, close relationship that you have with your coach when you're in these types of coaching programs, because it's such a personal thing. Like hormones, they affect you in so many ways. And you have to figure out, and you got to look at all those symptoms that clients are having. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. And if it is, please share this video with a friend. Again, it helps me with the YouTube algorithm to get out there. I am trying to educate more and more women to be your own health advocate, to again, not be dismissed by your doctor. Don't let them blow you off if you go in there and if you're feeling a certain way, and birth control isn't the answer to everything. That's what I'm trying to also get across is, irregular cycles or perimenopause or menopause, birth control isn't the answer. You can find other ways, natural ways to make yourself feel better, to help get those hormones balanced, to reduce the inflammation if you're willing to do the work. So, okay, thanks for watching.